here I am, and I'm really privileged to be joined today by Tyler Schmitt, the man behind the man, Gary Vaynerchuk, or at least the guy next to him. So how's it going, man?
It's going well. It's going really well. It's I am just 12 miles currently west of Manhattan in Montclair, New Jersey. I've been at my parents' house since pretty much mid-March when the pandemic hit, and we are looking like we're about to get a foot of snow in the next 24 hours here, and
Sheesh.
I am pretty excited about it, I must say.
Yeah, nice.
So yeah,
what's the fun and games that you have when the snow comes down over there?
just the vibes. Like I'm gonna get a fire going. We got the Christmas tree. There's a lot of Premier League football on today. Manchester United plays tomorrow at 3. So yeah, just kind of coziness, I guess I would say, and
just getting into Christmas, isn't it? I guess now it's just
exactly
kind of
right. Well,
you kind of start slacking off work a little bit.
yeah. Maybe have a bourbon a little bit earlier than it's probably allowed, but that's all right.
Yeah.
Snowstorms are a great excuse for everything.
Absolutely. And what are you guys doing for work at the moment? Are you having to work from home? Are you?
Yeah, it's pretty much fully remote. Probably starting in the new year. I might do like a day or two a week out of our office in Manhattan at Hudson Yards, but we've been fully remote. Yeah.
Yeah. And any problems with that, or is that really cool? Like,
it's there have been no problems. I'll say that, meaning we can still get everything done. I think it is been a shock to the system and a change, and I think that's what a lot of people are dealing with. The unknown. Typically, there's a schedule. I'm over the last 7 years so used to, or at least really over the last 4, traveling fairly frequently.
Yeah, definitely.
And I loved it. Kept things fresh, and the commute not being there. So kind of the commute, just these simple things that I think everyone took for granted. That maybe no longer exist. The walk to the water fountain, the random people you'd meet, random interaction in office. I loved all that stuff, and that's why I love traveling too, and just new surroundings, new people. And it's not to say that oh darn, like we still can't do amazing things. So when you ask, all's been good? Yeah, all's been good, and getting business done and spending a lot of time. But at the same time, I do believe my bed's right here. My office is right here.
It's not good.
That separation, I don't think people realize or recognize the importance of that. And so those kind of struggles exist. Yeah. And I think that it's all so new. So there will be a lot of developments in that. And I think also, I've talked about people had jobs that they signed up for and were happy about, but they did it under the context of going into an office and all that, and then when it all changes, your job is inherently different. And so I think a lot of people are going through, is this what I signed up for? And I think that'll be like the next 18 months, because I don't think we're not just going to snap our fingers and all of a sudden everyone's going to be back to how it was. So there'll be a bit of a medium, and I think people are then going to start to make some decisions, and out of it, I think will come a lot of innovation and new stuff. So I'm pumped for that.
Yeah, hopefully. Look, you've just touched on it, but it's the human interaction that's missing a little bit, and I imagine that you really miss that, especially living in and around New York as well. It's everybody's so kind of love to that kind of bumping into each other and kind of having that I don't know that whether it's good or bad interaction.
The action,
exactly. Yeah. So I bet it's difficult for guys and girls over there to deal with that now. Yeah. I don't know.
For sure.
Do you think?
For sure, and it's more of a hidden thing. Again, it's not one of those things that is so realized, or I think it's some things we take a lot for granted that, whether it be consciously or subconsciously, keep us going, keep us mentally healthy, keep us things to look forward to. You run into you meet someone random at the office, you have a fun conversation. You're a little bit more excited to go in tomorrow and run into them again and have that convo, or I'm a big Manchester United fan. Some random person in the office wearing a jersey. Boom, 10-minute conversation. Those things are healthy for you, but you don't really quantify them until they're gone. I think mental health, physical health, those walks, people are just sitting. So all those things I believe are starting to bubble up, but it looks like, there's starting to be some light at the end of the tunnel. So those
Sure,
things
hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, those are like the primal things, aren't they? They're the things that humans need, but we don't you never talk about, when you've got them, you never talk about those are the things that you love and you really kind of appreciate about life, and when they're taken away from you, you start to fawn for them.
Yeah, and the thing is about that, when they're taken away from you, and then you start to go through whether it's anxiety, depression, under weird feelings, it's hard to pinpoint why. Like, you're not like, this is why, and then I can just fix it by doing this. It's hard to understand why, because I think the primal things are a little bit different for everyone. So, there's not just one collective, like, well, if we all could see people. But then it's also like, okay, now that you've identified it, there's not much you can do to fix it other than perspective and gratitude for what you do have. Yeah,
no, absolutely. And it doesn't help. I mean, where you are at the moment, is it are you having full on lockdowns, mask wearing?
Mask wearing for sure. Here in the suburbs, I think we can still do some form of indoor dining, but like right now it's bad, and there's a lot of people that are getting sick, and you're not doing large gatherings. And even if you are, running into someone in the street you haven't seen in a while, typically there's a big, hey, a nice hug. But now you're kind of like, well, how do I impose? If I'm comfortable, I'm not sure if they're comfortable. Is it a pound? There's that quick, awkward look. Those things are like just there's these little subtleties that I think are going to take a long time to break through.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, even going in to see my barber, my local barber is a really cool guy from Egypt. And so, like, I've always been really kind of tight with him. It's been really, really nice. I went in there and it was like, do we shake hands? Do we kind of fist bump? I don't know what it is. It's a weird situation.
And then a lot of the conversation is, how you doing? How you been? I know it's tough. So there's all that, but patience and I have confidence and faith that there's good things ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what would you say, where you live at the moment, to give people a better kind of perspective, what would you say the best thing about living? Is it New Jersey that you live?
I'm in New Jersey.
Kind of what's the best thing about living there?
Like 6 years. The best thing I would say is the best thing about living here is a little bit more space. That's what I've enjoyed the most coming out of the city, is having some nature, some yards. I see the plants. I'm not sure if you're in a studio somewhere, but just a little bit of, I would say, oxygen and space and the city. 6 years I was living on the 11th floor of a high rise with a lot of people in that building, And you go. Coming out here, I've realized there's some nice things about having a nice backyard, a crisp morning, maybe some birds, a couple plants or shrubs or whatever. So that has been really nice. And I think that we're going to see an explosion of that, not necessarily decoupling of cities, but the expansion and people going out a little bit and having properties and, a respect for nature and going on hikes and just like that stuff. I think plants are going to be huge. Golf is huge.
That's actually why I've put the plants in here, to be honest with you, is because, and as soon as I put them in, it just changed kind of the way I felt when I was working and everything else. So it's incredible that you say that. And I think like the remote working is going to change things as well. So you go and live wherever you want in the world now. You don't have to stay in the city.
Proven. Cat's out the bag.
Yeah.
Cat is definitely out the bag, and there's going to be just a lot of dominoes that fall from it, and I'm interested to see how it happens. I'm talking a lot about, like, I want to somehow acquire 8 acres of land and just develop it over the course of my life, and it can be almost like a headquarters per se. It's not somewhere that I have to be living 365 days a year, but I do think that people are going to do kind of remote stints in places much more. Travel is going to explode.
Are you kind of an outdoors guy then? Do you enjoy?
I love it.
The outdoors.
Love it. Love. Yeah, I grew up camping and hiking. I'm not like over the line where like you would identify me as such, but I've always loved. My mom keeps a very nice garden. I love that side of stuff. There's a lot of good gardeners actually, content wise, out of the UK, and golf. I love golf. I I love walking and playing golf.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think it's good exercise. I like the outdoors. I like the manicured, nature.
I have to walk when I play golf because I'm not very good at it.
Walking
so it's
is
more
a
walking.
completely different game, and you get into it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I do, camping. I love camping. So yeah, I would say, and I think there's going to be an explosion around it.
No, definitely, 100%. I think. Well, I had a kind of a little bit of a dig into your past on your LinkedIn, as people do.
Yeah. Cool.
And I see that you've got a bit of a hospitality background, which is where I've come from. So I found that really interesting, actually, that you came from. I think you had some management roles in hospitality.
Yeah.
How did you go from that to transition into kind of what you're doing now? How did that come about?
I think it's one and the same, actually. Like I would honestly recommend that every person, especially now more than ever, works in a service job, a hospitality job. I think working in the lobby of a hotel is amazing. I think working in kitchens are amazing. There's so much culture smashing in there.
Yep.
People from all walks of life, and you get really and your eyes get open to how other individuals are living, and there's a lot of, whether you want to call it minimum wage jobs, or you get connected into what it means for people to work hard, a full hard day on their feet, but also how you interact with people in service and customer service. And I think going forward, Tony Hsieh, legendary entrepreneur, passed recently, founder of Zappos, and they pretty much, and I remember that, and you maybe remember this, I'm not sure how big, if they were international early on, but his whole thing was like customer service. And I think that more and more those companies are going to dominate, and their thing was like, well, you can order a pair of shoes online, but guess what? You can take them out, you can try them on, you can go for a walk around the block, you can send them back, and they're going to take them, like no questions asked. That was like, whoa. And in working in hospitality, I learned, if you're a waiter in a restaurant, or you're wrong, no matter what, they are right and you're wrong. And you have to have a very empathetic approach to be able to do that well, while not like being like, oh, this, POS, like, I can't believe this person, if you bring out a plate of food and if you think it's cooked well and they don't, guess what? They're right and you're wrong. What are you going to do about it?
And you've got to, I think the way it translates really well into life experiences, you've got to tune in to the needs of every single customer.
Yeah.
In a way that, like, as you say, you've just got to accept that you're wrong and they're right. And then you've got to tune in to, how do I tap into this guy's kind of psychology and turn it around so that this person is then happy with the way that you've dealt with it. And it's a really, it's a science almost.
Fun. It's definitely a science, and it is huge for perspective, for control of your emotions, I believe, for letting things roll off your back, because 99% of the time someone else's anger isn't about you. But we all make it like an ego. Like, if you're a waiter and you bring out something and they complain, you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? You make it it's like, no, like, you're there to enhance their experience, so make it about them. And I think that if customers take that approach, or if businesses take that approach, and I think that anything from, if you do your own thing from a freelance perspective to running 1,000-person, whatever, publicly traded company, it's like, without a customer, you're not in the game. So you might as well please them.
So I wonder if the personality traits that you developed in hospitality, I'm guessing that they complement kind of the office at Vaynermedia, and kind of how, can you kind of let me know a little bit about how you feel that they complement your office?
So then I went into marketing, got the job at Vaynermedia and client services, and starting off as kind of a young professional. I think it just gives you superpowers in when you're working with a team, coming into a team and being like, okay, I got to assess the situation and understand what makes everyone tick and where I can, add my value and where the white spaces are and how people like to, receive things, and just understanding the complex matrix of organizations and how people do their thing, and understanding that not everyone is going to be the way that you want to be so that you can be the best you can be. You have to understand everyone's thing and then, approach it. And so I was working there, and I got to know Gary and his younger brother AJ playing basketball, uh and AJ asked me to be his assistant, and that was like, I was like, to me, that's back to being hospitality, back to being the concierge at a hotel, and pretty much understanding that I'm in service of this individual. They are always going to be right. So can I deliver on what they're looking for, and then find a way to add a little bit that they might not be thinking of?
Absolutely,
and that is that was amazing. And the value exchange of learning too. I think in hospitality, it's probably still the closest. I've been on this kick and talking of like apprenticeship has been pretty much cast away, I believe, at least here in the States, in the sense of this value exchange of work in exchange for knowledge and experience and repetition. Now it's like, well, if you're not paying me $50,000, like, you're taking advantage of me. And
Sure.
I think that what I've gotten so much money not even taken into account, and I learned this a lot from Gary, of like,
Yeah.
why is it that you really are coming here? Because if it's just to get paid, you're not going to end up being happy or end up being as successful as you want to be, because you just become I just want my money. I show up to get paid, and then 1 year later, I'm going to get paid more. And there's no like, what am I extracting from a growth or value or learning, and how can I deploy it in other areas? So that was fun. I think in hospitality, you get that. You spend time in a kitchen learning from the main chef that's put in the years. You're getting better as a chef, not just getting paid.
Sure.
You're learning a lot.
Absolutely.
And then you can go and work in another another kitchen, start your own restaurant, use those skills at home. Like that, I think, is unique to hospitality. And so I've really deployed that and worked. Gary has helped me get to that place of like, there's much more to it all than just your production in exchange for pay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's life. It's absorbing as much as you can from life. Going to work and seeing it as I'm just going to work for a salary or whatever else. That's not really a life, is it? It's not something
you're gonna end up being miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's nothing better, as you know yourself. There's nothing better than being in an environment where you're surrounded with people who interact well, know how each other ticks and everything else, and bounce off each other. It's totally. That's enjoyable.
And I always thought about like punching above my weight. Like I always tell people, if you can somehow get to a spot where you feel you're punching above your weight class, that means that you've got some pressure. At least that's how I tick. I always need a little bit of like fire under my ass, because I'm confident I can deliver. But if it's like not there, I tend to just fall into it as well. And so I'm always like, wow, I need to be new perspectives, learning more. How can I be in a situation that doesn't make sense for me to be in? Because then I can deploy the skills I learned in hospitality of like, okay, what's really happening here? And how can I do my thing?
Yeah, absolutely. I really identify with that, actually. For me, I like anything that causes kind of an adrenaline reaction in me and makes, like, as you say, that makes you think, is this really happening, or is this what I should be doing? Or that I really enjoy that feeling, and I think that's what life's about. Whether in work or whether in relationships, when you meet somebody new, and you still have that feeling like, should this really be me? Should I really be doing this kind of thing?
Yeah.
That's the excitement of life, no?
For sure.
That's what it's all about.
And if you can keep putting in your spots, and I think a lot of people go the other way and avoid it, especially in their day-to-day jobs, and that I think will be broken down more and more now, because now that everyone, if you're all work from home, 6 p.m. clock out. Like it's all blurred. Sunday and Saturday and you know.
Already in your pajamas by 6 p.m.
It's just a whole different game.
Yeah.
The notion of a day, or it's all been, you know, it will be broken down over time. But how do you get those adrenaline rushes? How do you put yourself
absolutely
into those positions?
Yeah, yeah. It's hard to kind of think about and go after that answer. That I don't know. Do you start something yourself? Do you go?
Yeah.
Because like you say, you can't get out of you.
That was the point. I was like, I kind of lost the point for a second. Is that work largely is about minimizing the stress at work. Right?
Yep.
Most employees are like, how do I make this as stress-free as possible so that I can be done with it and then go and live my life?
Yeah.
Versus the opposite of like, how do I do something that gets me going and wants me to push and go harder and do? And I think that because of this now, like work-life balance, like how can you, it's not a and or, but how can you make it just one equation?
Yeah. So that you enjoy every moment of your life.
Enjoy it all. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely something that everybody's got to figure out now. There's no getting around it. We're stuck in
learning that has to be done to that because the acceptance and society wants people to be miserable for the most part.
Yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Actually, like that is now. It does appear to be that's the blueprint now. Is that it's easier to have a load of people who aren't happy and just
problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it all stems from money, but we all want it.
Yeah. Not even like there's money and problems. Meaning, if something's broke, someone can get paid to fix it, or something can be paid to fix it. You know, if you're sad, you can just pay for happiness pills.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So beneficial for everyone to be sad or miserable or this or that. You know, wanting and all that. Which is like really deep and philosophical, but
yeah, definitely. I think for me, the key is feeding the. We've already mentioned it, but feeding the primal. I think above all else, I think it's not your mental kind of having to feed your conscious mind. It's about having to feed the subconscious mind and what your body needs and what your instinct wants. And
yeah, definitely.
I think that's the key.
And what's happened in this and dopamine levels and all that again is like all new stuff.
Yeah. And then there's the lows, the come downs off all of that, and you can never kind of get that high again. And it's a constant. It's not a huge high and a kind of a dangerous low. It's just kind of a steady high. And yeah. So I'm just gonna kind of go across to a different subject now, which is because we're getting a little bit we're getting a bit deep now. Is because that you're a big football fan, right?
Yes.
So how long have you been watching? Have you watched football all your life? Or?
Yeah, for the most part, I would say all my life. So when I was very young, my next door neighbor was a gentleman, Tony Miola, who was a starting goalkeeper for the U.S. men's national team.
I remember him.
He started. So he played for the Metro Stars, which was the New York, New Jersey Major League Soccer team. The commissioner of Major League Soccer lives a stone throw from me, and I grew up with his son. There was a really good travel program here in the States, or not here in the States, here in my hometown, Montclair United Soccer Club. When I was young, and this is elementary school, I was playing travel, but there was a gentleman, Ashley, who moved over from the UK and pretty much ran a program where he imported, players, and they all paired up with the travel team. So all our travel teams had English trainers. They all had a trainer, and so that was a system. He built an indoor bubble here in town with Tony Miola. My mom was actually involved. They opened a retail shop, like in the shopping district in town here, called Tony Miola Soccer Stop. So in the late 90s, they were early 2000s, they're selling Premier League jerseys there. So it was always around, and I loved it. And my mother's from Denmark, so there was, that was just imparted a little bit early on, Schmitt and all those guys. And and we just loved the sport. So I've loved it, and I would say over the last 5 years, I've really, really, really fallen much more in love with it comparatively to American football. I think has dropped out of favor a bit for me.
Right.
Right. And I just think it's easy to watch. I love when it's on. We always talk about, which is weird in that there's so much money now in the sport, but I do believe it doesn't make its way onto the viewing product and the pitch as much as American sport.
Right.
NFL is like commercial down your throat, 4-hour game.
Yeah.
NBA now is like heavy. We always joked about, when you win a championship in the NBA, the first thing you got to do is put on a T-shirt and a new hat, to represent the sponsors. You're not lifting the trophy with your, Messi jersey on and all that.
Yeah.
So and it's been a great way to connect with new people. It's different conversations.
Absolutely. Yeah, because internationally, it's the biggest sport.
That's exactly right.
What's your team?
Manchester United, which I ran into an individual. As you can imagine, they were the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But I ran into this older gentleman at the post office the other day, and he was wearing head to toe Manchester United old Nike gear. So we get to talking. He's like, I worked at the club for 30 years. And we're just chatting a little bit. It was just coming off the draw to City. And he's like, stay here. I might have something for you in my car. He goes out and brings me back this Van Persie. I was like, sweet. So, I love it.
What a guy.
I love it. Yeah. It's
yeah. So you just saying about the commercialization of kind of the US sports.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a question for you about that. Along those lines, it's not commercialization, but it's an interesting question. So last weekend, obviously, Manchester United, Manchester City, they drew. Mm-hmm. And Roy Keane, I don't know if you saw the interview with him after that, he was complaining that after the game, so neither team won, but after the game, the players from the two sides were hugging. I mean, what's your take on that?
I on one hand, I think it's real. I think that players are more connected than ever because of social media. Yep. So we present ourselves more in a public way. But I also think it's a bit of old man syndrome, and he doesn't realize that there was definitely first off, there wasn't as many cameras back then. So don't hit me with that because I was going to say, we can find clips. We probably can't find clips, but I don't want to hear that after a game against West Ham back in the day after they won 2-1, he's not going up to guys and being it's just we forget that. But they talk about it in the NBA too. People are buddy more. Yeah, there's just more communication that happens. These guys can connect more.
But then, do you think so? Because I
they
can
didn't
see
even have cell phones. So and now you go on. You Phil Foden after the match posts a photo, and Bruno's not doing this, I don't think. But Jesse Lingard might be I respect your game and his Instagram and share it because again, we're portraying a lot. And so, do I think that exists? For sure. Do I think that these guys are competitors and still want to win? For sure. But do I also think that once you reach a level of professional sport, cool, I get it. You want Paul Pogba to really, really care. He's also getting paid, millions and millions and millions of dollars. That's why he plays. Yeah.
I can see the both sides. I can see that side that you don't realise. I mean, you don't realise what happens after the game anyway. You only see what's on the camera. Mm-hmm. But I can see the Roy Keane side of it as well. That how do you, if you're friends, so if your rival teams, your Manchester City, Manchester United, historically they've hated each other. Yeah. And so at the end of the match, if the opposition players are kind of hugging and kind of patting each other on the back, how do they, and their friends off on social media, they're kind of shouting each other out.
And get that gear.
How do they go into the game? You're going into a tackle with your friend or whatever else. Are you going to be missing some aggression? Do you? I do understand where he comes from.
I think a little bit. Yeah. I think a little bit. Yeah. But again, you can't have both sides of it. He is making a lot of money commentating. Yep. The commentators, when he played, did not make that much money because there wasn't that much money in the sport. Yep. So, Pogba's contract compared to his is exponentially higher. And it allows him to do a lot of things off the pitch. One of the reasons that it is that much higher is because of the explosion of media and these guys, right? So like it goes both ways. If he wants that back, cool. Is he willing to take get paid 10%? No. So like, it's also, people wouldn't have heard his rant when he was playing. So like, now they do, and now we're sitting here talking about him. So I think it goes both ways. Do I think that there's less intense action? Yes. Do I think that people are going into tackles studs up as much? Because again, he's talking about one match, and if you watch a lot, these guys are still getting beat and battered, and people don't understand that those are 1.5-inch metal spikes going into your bare skin on your ankle. Like people say, why did Neymar roll around? Cool. Put your cleats on. Let's go outside, and I'll give you a light tackle. You're not walking for a couple days. So that, and so I think it goes both ways. But at the same time, like if you are a $20 million player, you don't want someone taking out your ankle because it's going to affect your next contract. So you're probably not doing it the same.
Yeah.
The Premier League used to be filled of freaking just non-fit, rough and tough dudes that just loved it for the game. They weren't getting paid that much. Now they are.
True.
So things have changed a little bit.
And to be fair, along with what you've just said, is Roy Keane is not in a great position to talk about kind of being fair and everything else. I don't know if you ever saw the tackle he did on Erling Haaland's dad.
I don't.
Did you ever see?
No, I don't recall.
Alf Inge, that was Manchester United, Manchester City. So Erling Haaland's dad, Alf Inge Haaland, used to play for Manchester City, and he stamped on his leg and he snapped.
He snapped his leg.
He snapped his leg and ended his career. So, like you say, now you don't want that in the game now. Really, you want everybody to be healthy and to be playing
their side, and then there's the VAR conversation and all that. But again, it's like, which way are we looking? How much time are we spending looking backwards? I'm sorry, it's not how it was when you were around. Everyone's got that same thing.
Dinosaurs now, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm sure he wishes he could still be playing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It just and like one last.
We're passionate about it. Like fuck City. Like I
yeah.
I don't want to see it either.
There was something funny that so there was another video that came out that I don't know if you saw it, that it was when Manchester United played Everton and Gary Neville was the captain of Manchester United and Phil Neville was the captain of Everton, and they're in the tunnel, brothers, and they won't look at each other. They're just ignoring each other. I mean, that's some serious kind of game face
and
right there.
Everyone plays it different. Like everyone plays it different. And that's what I think is so beautiful about it too, is there's so many different styles of the game. There's so many different ways it's approached. You know, there's so many different styles you can put on one club and a manager. I love it. Did you watch the show Ted Lasso? Did you see this show, Ted Lasso?
I haven't seen it yet, but it's been like people have said to me, watch it. Yeah,
it's fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's very lightweight. It's very easy to watch. It portrays the sport in a very consumable way for like a new American audience. It's fun. Yeah, it's really cool.
I'll check that out tonight. Yeah, no, definitely.
Good. It's good.
So kind of just to wrap this up, what does the next few years look like for you? What's your end game? Kind of where do you want to go, or are you still trying to figure everything out? Have you got projects that kind of people might want to follow along with?
Yeah.
And
so I would almost probably say three things. One, I'm currently spending the majority of my time building up our publication 1:37 p.m., which is a men's kind of culture, lifestyle, new age media company. And so I'm building out that team, I'm really enjoying that. And I think we've got a shot to do some meaningful stuff and build a real audience there and bring some cool, unique value to them. I am more and more on this tick of I want to acquire some land and like build some sort of oasis. I always loved the movie Secret Garden, and I also I follow a lot of different people in the UK that like have I love The Crown. My mom, like, I just love these like scenes and open stuff, and so I want to get like 8 to 10 acres and just slowly develop it.
Nice.
And not develop it in like I want to cut it and put a bunch of houses on it and sell it. Like I want to develop the land. and
Sure.
plant different species and whatnot on it. And then I will say that much more and more and more and more, I'm like, I want to be involved in football, in proper football, and in any way that manifests itself. I think my first thing is going to be, part of 1:37 p.m. we have a Instagram page and TikTok called Proper Football, and we're going to launch a little podcast around that. So I'm going to be involved in that and do some interviews, and not sure where that'll take me, but we'll see. I don't know if it's in a front office or ownership of a club, or there's a lot of stuff. I think content's going to explode in the sport, and yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, give me a shout if you want to talk about football.
Yeah,
give me a shout, and I'll
for
happy
sure.
to do it.
Yeah, we will definitely do that.
Okay, man. Well, look, thank you very much for coming on Drinks with Chris. I really appreciate it. We've made it happen in the end. So
yeah, thank you for having me and reaching out, and I'm excited. We'll have to have another conversation soon.
Yeah, definitely.
There's some good Premier League action on today, actually.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah,
that'll be good.
There's who's on today? I'm just gonna have a quick look.
Liverpool Spurs is on. That's like the main match. That's at 3 Eastern. This Leeds team is interesting.
Yeah,
they
Leeds
are.
What are your predictions? I need some Tyler Schmitt predictions for the last thing. Leeds Newcastle.
Leeds Newcastle. I think Leeds is going to score. I'd say 3-1. Gunners are an absolute mess, and Southampton's a decent team. I think so. Actually, I think there's going to be a 1-1 draw there. I think Leicester are frauds, and Jamie Vardy has saved them more times than they need to be saved. So I got Everton 2-1 in that. Fulham Brighton, I don't even know. I mean, depends.
Anything can happen.
Anything can happen there. I think we're going to see a Liverpool 3, Spurs 1. Yeah. Which would be crazy. And then West Ham Crystal Palace. That is also a tricky one. Let's see. West Ham's been playing really nice. They have. I'll go 1-1 draw on that. Yeah, I think a draw is a good one. Yeah. Good shout for that one. Yeah. Yeah, I'll come back to you with that then, and I'll let you know how you get on. Sounds good. Yeah. I appreciate it. All right, man. Cool. Yeah, I need that clip. Nice one, Tyler. Post that. That'll be a little promo, and then we'll design it. I'll have someone on my team like, cool. I'll lay a couple wagers down too. All right, Chris, awesome. I appreciate it, man. All good. You need.